Mrs. Hauser here. We're going to talk about Lesson 2, the addition postulates. So what do you need to know from Lesson 2? What are congruent segments and angles? How to use the segment addition postulate and the angle addition postulate. So let's talk about what congruent segments and angles are. Congruent means the same shape and size. Generally speaking, we use congruent. This symbol means congruent. We use congruent to describe shapes or objects. And we would use an equal sign or equals to describe numbers or values. So I would have, if I had two congruent segments, let's say this is JK and this is RM, I would say that these have equal lengths, that they're the same size, and I can mark them as being congruent with one mark. If I had two different congruent ones, let's say ST and QR, I could mark those with 2 marks. They don't have to be in the same orientation. They can be rotated around, that's okay. For congruent angles, J, K, L, R, S, T, are two angles that have the same measure, and we mark those with arcs. There's a couple other ways we could mark those. I could give it 2 arcs because QMP is not necessarily congruent to JKL, and there's one other way I can draw that there would be congruent angles, and I'll do 2 little ones down here. I can put a little mark through it, and then I could put 2 maybe, like that. Okay, so that's what congruent segments and angles are. That's what they look like, and they can be in any orientation. So let's talk about that segment addition postulate. So what is the segment addition postulate? The segment addition postulate says that if I have 3 points that are collinear, collinear meaning on the same line, then I can take the measure of this first set, AB, and the measure of the second piece, BC, and that would be equal to the measure of the whole, AC. So using that segment addition postulate, I can look at this segment down here, DF, and I know that I can take 8 and 4 and add them together, so the whole segment would be 8 plus 4, or 12. So DF equals 12. And I just want to take 1 second to talk about some notation here. With the segment symbol on top, we're talking about the segment itself, and without it on top, we're talking about the length. Now, if I look at GJ, they tell me that this entire length is 24. I don't know what HJ is over here. I'm not sure what this is, so I'm going to put an X there. Segment addition postulate says that I can say 18 plus X equals 24, that I can subtract 18 from both sides and get that X is equal to 6. I know that you probably just did 24 minus 18 and you got 6, and that's fine as well. I don't have a problem with that. Just note that the true use of the angle addition postulate involves adding. All right, so what about, I'm sorry, that was the segment addition postulate. What about the angle addition postulate? That tells me that I can take the two smaller inside angles and they'll add up to the whole larger angle. So let's apply that down here. Here's 15. Here's 45. I want to find the whole, so I'm going to take 15 and 45 and add them together to get 60 degrees. So the measure of angle DGF is equal to 60 degrees. This symbol right here means, the M means measure. Okay, in the next one, they gave me LK, which is this whole piece, and that whole piece is 75. I want X, HLJ, so I'm going to do X plus 50 equals 75. I'll subtract 50 from each side, and I'll get that X is equal to 25. So the measure of angle HLJ is equal to 25 degrees. Of course, they always have to add expressions, so let's work with that. Suppose J is between H and K, so I'm going to draw a picture for that. Here's HK, and there's J. HJ is equal to 2x plus 4, and JK is equal to 3x plus 3, and they tell me that KH is equal to 22. I know that my two pieces here will add up to my whole. If I have trouble writing this equation, I know that my green piece and my red piece, when added together, will equal my blue piece. So now I can just fill those values in. And work with that equation. 2x plus 4 plus 3x plus 3 is equal to 22. I'm going to combine like terms. I'll get 5x plus 7 is equal to 22. Subtract 7 from each side. 5x is equal to 15. Divide by 5 on each side and get that x is equal to 3. So I just found 3, but I'm not quite done because they wanted me to find both HJ and JK. So HJ is equal to 2x plus 4. So I'm going to substitute that 3 in. And now I know that x is equal to 3 and HJ is equal to 10. I have two options. I'm going to take the longer option. JK, they tell me, is 3x plus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute that 3 in. I'll multiply out and get my 9. So I know that JK is 12. And just as a little check to myself, I can take those two segments, add them together. I should get 22 because that's what the whole was. So my answer is x equals 3, hj equals 10, and jk equals 12. The last problem is dealing with the angle addition postulate. So they want me to find VUJ and JUT, and they gave me the value of VUT. VUT is this whole piece, and that's equal to 175. And I know that VUJ is equal to 7x minus 3, and JUT is equal to 17x plus 8. I always draw onto my picture. It makes my problem a lot easier. So now I'm going to look at this, and again I'm going to color code it. I know that this black piece plus this purple piece is equal to my green piece. So black and purple equals green. And then I can just go ahead and fill these values in. So if you have trouble when you get the expressions, you can always just color code it and use that you know that those two small pieces equal the larger piece to set up that equation. Now I'm going to go ahead and work with the equation that I have. I'm going to write it out without bubbles around it. And I'll take 17x plus 17x, I get 34x, and 8 and negative 3 will give me positive 5, and that's equal to 175. Subtract 5 from each side. And I'll get 34x is equal to 170. I'll divide by 34 on each side, and I get that x is equal to 5. Now that I've found that x value, I can find each of my angle values. So if I look at the measure of angle VUJ, I know that that's equal to 17x minus 3. So 17 times 5 minus 3, and 10 times 5 is 50, and 7 times 5 is 35, so that's going to be equal to 85. Minus 3 would be 82, so the measure of angle VUJ is equal to 82. And then I can go ahead and look at the measure of angle JUT. And that's equal to 17x plus 8. So 17 times 5 plus 8. 17 times 5 is 85 again. Plus 8 is going to be 93. So I know that the measure of angle JUT is equal to 93. So if I were to line up like this, I would say 35. Is 93. And just as a quick check, 82 and 93, when I add them together, I get 175. So we're good. All right, that's all for the addition postulate lesson. I hope it's helped. If you have any more questions, feel free to come see me.